Yes, and we're live. So, hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to this. Hello Raj. Welcome to the second episode of Turning Thursdays. I'm Bas. I'm your host. I'm an executive mindset coach. I'm doing this every Thursday. I'm having some wonderful guests, and um, in this session, in these sessions we'll look at turning points in life. We look at how we deal, how we resist, how we cope with change in life, and we have a quick look on the future or what we'd like to create for our lives or your life. So Raj is a body and mind intelligence therapist. Also, she also is a craniosacral therapist as well. Very difficult word. I'm sure she's gonna explain to us what that entails. But first of all, Raj, if you'd like to introduce yourself, where you're from, tell us a little bit about what you do, and yeah.
Sure, of course. Thank you, firstly, so much for having me. Now, I work with a lot of different modalities, and all of them tap into your body's innate healing mechanism. So, our bodies are the most extraordinary and intelligent design, and any therapist or professional that you'll see will only ever be a catalyst. It's actually your body that does the work, hence the body mind intelligence therapist. So, craniosacral therapy is a hands on form of bodywork. It's one of the modalities that I work with, but of course, all the modalities I've trained in inform my practice. It has its roots in osteopathy. It was taught by an osteopathic doctor called John Upledger. And people who are aware of it tend to think of it as something that can help physical ailments, which it can and it does, but it tends to hold a much wider space. So people feel benefits mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So I work with a lot of people who have challenges with their mental health, depression, PTSD, and those who generally might not be feeling safe in their bodies
Mhm.
and who have a tendency to dissociate. I also work with teens and children who have autism.
Okay. So what is like one of the like most common things people would come to you for?
One of the most common things is headaches, migraines.
Uh-huh.
So this is part lifestyle, part responsibility, because there tends to, from my experience, always be an emotional connection to something physical. So people coming in with their shoulders stooped over, suffering from neck pain and head pain, and often they're feeling the weight of responsibility. It's almost like literal bricks on the shoulders and
Yeah, yeah,
people's posture. Because when somebody is living their best life and they're super confident, they're up, they're straight, the shoulders are back. Whereas if they're the drudge of every day and being stuck at my desk, that you can tell even looking at them. You don't need to tune into their body to see that. And so I do see a lot of people with headaches.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And explain a little bit to the viewer what the craniosacral is?
So craniosacral therapy works on the craniosacral system. So
Hmm.
this is the bones of the head, the membranes that you have,
Yeah.
the actual cerebrospinal fluid, which is an amazing fluid that is part of our body's. It's called the glymphatic system. It's a part of the body's garbage disposal system, and it cleanses the brain and it takes away waste. And it. Oh, I think I've lost you. Are you still there? Hello, Bus? I think I've lost you. I'm not too sure if I'm still streaming. We seem to have had some technical issues, but I'll just finish off what I'm saying. The spinal cord, the actual the bones of the spine going all the way down to the sacrum, and we can develop. Oh, I've got you back. Fantastic. Lost you there for a moment. I wasn't too sure if I should carry on speaking or not.
I think it's very great. I dropped off for a minute. This happens when it's live.
Okay. So I was talking about the craniosacral system. I'm not too
Yes.
sure if I managed to communicate the rest or if I was lost somewhere.
No, I think you were there. I dropped off. So
Oh, okay. I was there. So
yeah.
yes, bones, membranes, cranium, spinal cord, sacrum, which is the bone at the base of the spine to which your sitting bone, the coccyx, attaches. And of course, you have all your nerves coming off the spine. So if you have any restrictions with any of the membranes or any tension in these areas, then it affects the whole body because you are effectively your nervous system.
And how long would the typical treatment last or take?
Well, generally people come in, I'll take a case history and then they'll lie down flat on a couch. Some people want to speak more. Some people want to speak less. Some people are also receiving talk therapy at the same time. So it tends to be for about an hour. I do have clients that book in for 2 hours because that's what their body needs, especially if they're suffering from something like adrenal fatigue or having chronic sleep problems.
Okay. Well, would you say it's typically resolved in one session, or do people have to come multiple sessions?
So generally, because we tend to slip into our old habits, our old patterns, and physically, and people who carry, for example, a backpack on one side, you know this, they might be slightly twisted in the spine, or generally when the way that they're standing, because that's where they're used to having the weight and the pressure. So for somebody like that, they'll need a series of sessions over a longer period of time. If somebody has depression, they may need a series of sessions over a longer period of time. However, and this is what I used to tell my clients, I have had people come in and they've been suffering from, for example, post-COVID related headaches for years, and they've had a treatment and they've had such a lift, they've had such a release. So it really is dependent on the individual, but typically you would need more than one session. You'd need a series, and the longer you've had the issue, the more sessions.
Okay, great. So I now like to move it a little bit forward to the turning point in your life, or one of the turning points in your life that you'd like to discuss. So what was like that turning point for you in your life where things, now looking back, really started to change for you, or maybe you were forced to change because it couldn't go any further the way it was going?
Well, for me, it was my son. So my son was born perfectly, and of course he's my son, so he'll always be perfect for me. But he started to skip his milestones and he was developmentally delayed. He was in pain a lot. He was banging his head. He couldn't tolerate different food textures. He became very unwell. And at the time I was living in the Middle East, so I was flying back and forth from London with him, seeing specialists and trying to work out what it was that was going on. And there were various things that were discussed, autism, potential oxygen starvation at birth, which I knew it wasn't because his birth went very, very well. And so it was a very big turning point for me, because at that point I didn't prescribe to what I was being told, that this would be the limitations on his life. This is the path that he would go to. That is a school that he will likely go to because he will need, I was told, one-on-one support for the rest of his life. And the practitioners that I worked with, for example, the occupational therapist and the speech therapist, they were very respectful and they didn't put those labels on him. They knew that I didn't want them. So I threw myself into learning as much as I possibly could about what was happening with my son, to try and make some sense of it, to see how I could best help him. I came up with schedules. I explored alternative options. And that was when I met it's actually her birthday today. Happy birthday, May Britt. My very dear friend, mentor, May Britt Searty. And she started using these alternative therapies with him. And I noticed over time this subtle, then gradual improvement. And then looking back after 6 months, after a year, his immunity had improved. He'd gone on leaps and bounds in his development. And then as I was working with him, and it was a very intense period of time, a number of years that I had with him, because it was a 24/7 job, I felt things coming up for me that needed addressing. And parents will often find that the child is there, the child triggers you, something comes up, and you realize that it's something in you that needs looking at, developing, or healing. And then I realized the power of these therapies to help people who have conditions like depression, who don't feel connected to themselves or feel like they don't have a purpose. And yeah, I call my children black swans because they came along and everything changed. And so when I talked to him, he's so grateful he went through that process. We don't regret it, and he's thriving now because it gave me a sense of purpose, and it gave me this path so that I can take this knowledge and help as many people as I possibly can with it.
So what I hear, and maybe I misinterpreted, but is like, do I get it right that like through healing him, you had to heal yourself?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then I mean,
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Yes. I think
Yeah.
when the parent works on themselves, children, we're their role models.
Yes.
They look at their parents to see how to self-regulate, how to deal with emotions, whether they're locking themselves away in a room and sobbing, or whether they're being open about it, and how they're communicating with you. And so you're teaching these children these patterns, and they take them in and they internalize them, and then they'll go out in the world and behave accordingly. I'm not saying it's that clear cut or that simple and straightforward, but that's the premise. So yes, that's what happened.
Okay. So I mean, it's beautiful. What I also get is that both of you now operate at such a higher level of, like, let's say, consciousness or energy, or and that, like, I mean, you can bring each other down, but you can lift each other up as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And it takes something, right? It doesn't come like.
No, it was not. It was not easy. It was not an easy journey, but we have an absolutely amazing relationship because of it and through it, and the level of honesty we have with each other as well. And he's now at the age where he's a teenager, and so he's aware of his journey. Whereas I never put limitations on him. I never let him say, I can't do this, or that's too hard for me, or compare himself to others. So you look at yourself, you try to do the best you can do, you do better than you did yesterday.
Absolutely.
You're only ever competing with yourself.
Yeah, I totally believe that. So now, in retrospect, looking back at that turning point, do you look at it like it was avoidable, or would you wanted to have it? Was it avoidable, or would you wanted to avoid it, or is it like now, like it's maybe also kind of almost like a blessing that you went through it?
It's interesting that you say that, because the other day my son was saying to me, Mummy, I think the work that you did with me made me better than I would have been otherwise. So my son, for example, he had very weak muscle tone, and he found writing, drawing, even drawing a simple stick person, very, very difficult. And when he was at that age where he could write, I would have him write out a poem to a skylark by Shelley. Not the entire poem, it's quite long, but an A4 page of it. And if he made a mistake, I would make him write it out again, to the point that he knew it off by heart. And he said to me, when you made me do that, I used to hate it, but I'm so glad that you did.
Yeah.
Now when he's sitting there and he's doing his exams, and he's allowed to use a computer in his exams, but he chooses to do the writing, he finds it's just so much easier.
Okay, amazing. I mean,
and it's given me a purpose in life as well. It's helped me find myself. Helping him helped me in a very profound way.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I assume that came with a lot of, like, I mean, as you said about your son, how he hated you, forcing
Oh,
him.
no, no, he didn't hate me. I
No,
didn't
no,
say
hated doing the task, or I mean, he might
he
have.
hated doing the task.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, no, not you. No, no, no. It's like, oh God, I have to write this poem again. But it's like, so yeah, I want to bring it to the next section, like change and resisting change, and like
Mhm.
all the emotions that come with that. Um, I mean, you saw it in your son, but like in you, I mean, I'm sure that must have come with like, yeah, a lot of resistance at times as well. Or how did you deal with that change in your life, or the change you couldn't avoid?
It's interesting, but looking back, I didn't allow anything negative in at all.
Okay.
I was so determined that what I'd been told his life was going to be was not going to be that. It was going to be so much better that I didn't allow any of the negativity, any of the the things that I didn't concur with. I wasn't allowing them into the field at all. And it was just a focus on doing everything that I could. And some of it was experimental, which I didn't realize at the time. And there was this sense that I had to shut out the rest of the world. And there were well-meaning friends, there were well-meaning people who would make their comments and what the doctors were saying. And to do that, it takes, I believe it takes fortitude to stand up and say, okay, you're saying this. I respect your opinion, your education with this, but this is not what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, as a parent, what you've got is, I think, around 6 million years of evolution that gives you this parental instinct, this gut instinct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't tell you why, but I don't agree with that. And I feel like there is a better way. So that was a big part of it, and learning to trust myself. And it was the first time in my life that I was actually doing this. And when you set off on that path, there is no one that you can turn to and say, is this okay? Because you've made that decision. And it actually, I felt like it was, you grow up. And there are various points in people's lives where they think, okay, I'm married now, I've grown up. I've had a child, I've grown up. Oh, I've just been through that experience, I've grown up. But it happens differently each time. And for
Yeah.
me, that was what was so pivotal, is for the first time in my life. And I'm the youngest of 3 children. So for me, it was always look to your older sister, look to your older brother. You look to this person, and they will know best for you. That I was taking it on my shoulders. It's my child, my responsibility. And so, yeah, so there were those challenges there. Not everybody agreed with me, but I'm glad that I made the decisions that I did and worked with him how I did, because it worked.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really hear as well is like you had a belief or a vision, and you really created it along the way. It
Yes.
wasn't going to be any other way.
Yeah.
But you didn't know. I mean, you didn't know what the outcome was going to be, and
Mhm.
how the journey, or how the road was, what it was going to look like.
Mhm.
But um, like doctors, and then let's say the medical world, or like the people that guided you, they wanted to steer you in a different direction, and you said, no, I'm not
Mhm.
going.
Yeah.
And with that, like that fortitude and strength and belief, you really uh, created with something that you believed in. So do you like, was it like, what was it that kept you going? Was it the let's say the belief or the desire that kept you going, or is that combined? What is that for you?
What kept me going? I think it's the parents' love for a child. I think that's what I had never, until I became a mother, I'd never experienced a love of that kind before. And it's as any parent will tell you, it's an unconditional love. And he was depending on me for everything, absolutely everything. And if this was my only purpose in my life, to bring him to a stage where he could live independently and function as a giving member of society, then that would have made my life worth it. So that's what it was. He was a vulnerable child. He's not well. I'm his spokesperson. He has nobody else to speak for him, and I'm the only person that can help him in that situation. So I believe it was the love. But yeah, looking back now, even now, I think, gosh, how did I just carry on? How did I not? I never sat down and cried about it. I was just, this is what we're doing every day, and it was hard. It was tough. He slept holding my face, so I never had any space to myself. There was no active social life or anything like that, and there's no club for mums with sick kids when you're an expat.
No. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, like the way you share your story, I mean, I mean, I so respect it, and thank you for sharing it so openly here. So if we like take that like now into what you are creating, and maybe now a little bit more for yourself. I mean, I see you have a vision for your son, but what are you? I mean, you can talk about him if you want. It's not a problem, of course. But what are you creating for yourself, for the two of you, for him, for the future? And do you? Maybe that could be interesting as well. It's like what lessons from that experience are you now using for, let's say, different areas in your life for your future?
Well, firstly, I believe that anything is possible.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely anything is possible. There needs to be a belief there, and there needs to be action there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you work consistently on something, so you can go to the gym once, don't expect to get a six-pack after one workout. You'll need to do a lot of burpees, as you know. You need to be working consistently on something to see those results, but you will get there. And don't allow others to put limitations on you and your journey and your path. You don't know what your capacity for creation is. And in terms of what we want, what I want for the future. So with my son, now he has his life. He's a teenager. He goes to school. I'm his mum. I'm here. I'm the driver to pick him up from parties and and that sort of thing. We do spend a good amount of time together, and we have an amazing relationship. But I'm not worried now. I feel he's hardwired with the right kind of teaching. Mm-hmm. So when he can't do anything, and I've taught him to use positive affirmations. So when he had challenges with his processing speed, I would get him to stand and say, "My processing speed is phenomenal," and I would get him to repeat it. When you repeat something enough, you begin to believe it. It's why I'm a big believer in affirmations. And in terms of myself, I take each day as it comes. Every single day is a gift. Mm-hmm. And when I think about it in the context of my son, when he comes home, if he has, he loves sciences, say he's got 90% in a test. And I say, well, he could have got 100%. There was a time where all I wanted and I prayed for was for him to speak. Mm-hmm. So that he can vocalize what his feelings are. And I need to remind myself as well how far he's actually come. So we don't know when things are going to change. And we saw this during COVID. Everything can just change like that. So although although there is, the path that he wants to take, what he wants to do in terms of his career and his life, as far as I'm concerned, I've done that. I've done the bit where he needed me to make such an aggressive effort, and now it's all in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent, obviously, he's still a child. I'm still his parent, and I will be for the rest of my life. And for me, the work, the knowledge that I have gleaned over the years, the trainings that I've done, the people that I work with, I'd love to be able to bring the work to as many people as possible, because it is phenomenal. It isn't always easy to explain because it's energetic as well as physical, but it is absolutely phenomenal. And for people to know that these sorts of modalities that can support you exist. Of course, yes, go to your doctor, get checked out, but you don't need to suffer needlessly. There are other avenues.
Yeah, I mean, I totally believe in that. I've been to some seminars of Joe Dispenza, and
Yes, yeah.
what I've seen there, how people been living with like serious conditions,
Yeah.
And like through meditation and through choice and belief that it can be in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's so magical, like how you can, like what you can do with your body, and then
It is.
how it can heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not like, okay, I'll just heal myself and I'm done. It does really take work and like changing belief.
I call it an upward spiral of healing.
Yeah.
Things will come up in different ways at different times, and you'll think, what? I thought I dealt with this. I thought I processed this. We worked on this. I did this 3 years ago. But it's coming up in a different way for you to develop and grow in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you balance between, let's say, future and present? Like if you want to, like, I got that you said, I'm grateful for every day.
Yes.
I really want to live in the present.
Yes.
And there is, of course, something like a future that you're living into, like what you want to create. That's like, can you create everything today, or like in let's say in your business, where would you want to be a year from now, 2 years from now? How do you balance between that present and between this present and that future?
I feel like I'm guided, and I feel like I'm guided to the right places at the right time. So often, and other practitioners who may be listening will find this, that you have clients that come into your practice who are reflecting something in you, perhaps, that you need to work on. I'll give you an example. My father passed away last year in August, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. It was up there with when I had my children, to watch him transition from this world into the next. And I felt good about how the process had happened, that my sister and I and my brother and my mother, that we'd all been together with him in his last days. And I felt, therefore, that I was at peace with that. And I came back and I went straight back to work. And I didn't take any time to grieve. And the clients that I was having in, all of them, the first day that I landed back here, and the first week that I landed back here, they were all coming in with either their parent was about to pass or had passed and they were grieving. And I found myself speaking words to them and then thinking afterwards, am I applying that to myself? Am I actually walking my talk? And so that was a message for me. So then I took that time to actually allow myself to feel all these things that I didn't think that I was going to feel, and to go through that grieving process. So in terms of the future, I have faith that I will be guided to where it is that I need to be and what it is that I need to be doing. And my clients often find me through similar ways. I hear a lot, I feel like I was meant to meet you. I saw all these practitioners and I was drawn to you. So that may sound very, being a parent, of course, and a single parent of 2 children, I want to have some stability, or to know we will be living here for this amount of time. This is what's going to happen. But the only thing in life we have to rely on is that change is constant.
Yes.
And everything is brilliant today, and we appreciate it. And tomorrow, everything may change. So this doesn't, of course, mean that I go out and take all my savings and spend them on nice handbags, which would be really nice to do. But it also doesn't mean that I'm fearful. I'm not fearful of the future. As a parent, when you've been in a position that I've been in, and you know that fear of, will my child ever be able to function without adult support, fear of other things just tends to fall away.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that gives you what if that fear falls away?
There's less worry, there's less anxiety, there is less stress. And a lot of this I appreciate is very faith-based. I have faith that things will work out, and I'm very lucky that they have. That didn't mean that I didn't need to put effort in, or that, I won't show up at clinic and see my clients, of course.
Yeah.
With the day-to-day. And you plan for the future, but you appreciate each day and everything that it brings as though it was the last.
Yeah. I mean, faith is like, I'm reading now this book, Three Magic Words, and they talks a lot about faith as well. But I mean, what I get from that is like, faith is one thing, but you'll have to act.
Yeah, absolutely.
In your faith as well. I mean, you have to walk the talk.
Yes.
And whether faith is religious or the universe or energy or whatever you believe in. Without actions, nothing happens.
No, of course.
And
of course.
Yeah.
We can
Okay.
all dream, but
is there anything else you would like to say, or
no, thank you. If there's anything else you want to ask me, feel free. But thank you very much for having me.
I mean, I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about like your business. Where can people reach you?
So
yeah.
So I'm based in North London. That's where my clinic is. And I believe you have my web details, and of course I'm on LinkedIn. And I have clients both in the UK and abroad. I do work with people via distance, doing distance work, but I do like to see them in person and have that face-to-face. Energetically, it is very different. And to do the hands-on work in person as well. And I invite anybody who is struggling with their mental health, or even their sense of purpose, or feels like they need to connect to themselves, or maybe they have an ailment, or maybe they have some pain in their body and they don't know what it's related to. They've had it checked by the doctor. And I do emphasize, when these things are occurring, or if you are having scary symptoms, please do go and get it checked and make sure you're not having a heart attack. It's very, very important. Then do feel free to reach out, because you don't have to suffer on your own. There are so many options out there. There are so many different alternative therapies that you can work with, and they all yield results, and different things work for different people. So I tailor each session according to what I feel the client needs.
Okay, great. I'll summarize it up. I mean, Raj, it was really a pleasure having you here. The way you shared your story, which has been a remarkable journey in faith and belief and dedication and showing up. So really thank you for that. I will put in the notes where you can reach Raj. I'll be there as well. If you want to use Raj's services or my services, you're very welcome. and we'll be here next week again around the same time with a different guest. And I look forward to having you all again. Thank you very much, Raj.
Thank you so much, Baz. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.